Mr. Puneet Chatwal, distinguished delegates, friends. It's a great pleasure to address you all this evening at this conclave. And let me begin by conveying my felicitations to the Federation and my appreciation for your collective efforts at promoting tourism in India. Now, you're all people of enormous experience in the tourism industry, people with very impressive credentials, and it's hardly necessary for me to dwell on a subject which you know well, other than to underline that the Modi government is deeply committed to the development of tourism in India. Now, like any domain, tourism and hospitality have a wider context, which actually brings them much closer to my line of work. Sometimes, however, we don't always fully visualize the larger relevance of what we are doing to our national or even international objectives. So, what I would like to do today is to share with you some of my thoughts about how your world meets mine and what is the significance of that intersection. Now, you all know that my job is to engage the international community and advance India's interests. I think that is the shortest description I can give you. But I do want to say that even more than diplomacy, it is actually tourism that connects any nation to the world. Because not only does it shape an understanding of other countries for us, but it actually determines our own image in their eyes. Now, we in India are paying increasing attention to the value of this connect. And in fact, Prime Minister Modi has urged us to use the 3 T's, as he calls them, tourism, trade, and technology, as the benchmark for actually assessing our foreign relationships. Now, many of you would also be aware that Prime Minister Modi invariably interacts with the diaspora when he goes abroad. And I want to remind you that his constant message is to urge them to bring their friends along when they next visit India. So you can see how much we constantly strive in your interests and to promote your business. Now, in recent years, we have made sustained efforts to make our heritage and culture more visible to the world. Almost every year, there are Indian additions to the UNESCO World Heritage List. The most recent one was the Maratha military landscapes, and before that, the Moidams of Assam. But I want to remind you, in the last decade, this expanded list has included Shantiniketan, Hoysala Heritage, the Ramappa Temple, Dholavira, Jaipur City, Old Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Nalanda, Patan, the works of Le Corbusier, and the Kanchenjunga and the Greater Himalayan National Park. Now, you would all appreciate that the beauties of India are, of course, very much in the eyes of the beholder. And it's not just these sites, but I give you the intangible examples. The celebration of Navroz, of the performances of Gujarati Garba, Durga Puja, Kumbh Mela, yoga, and the Thateras utensil making craft from Punjab. All these have today been listed in the intangible cultural heritage as part of what India has to offer to the world, attractions which we are very confident will generate greater tourism interest in our country. Now, apart from that, there is so much that the creative world is actually able to harness from our civilization. So, these armies of creative talent, of influencers, of vloggers, they have a field day whenever they come here. Now, we saw a glimpse of that recently when the WAVE Summit took place in Mumbai. In fact, I would, as people from the tourism and hospitality industry, I would emphasize that social media itself has become today a very powerful force to promote tourism. And I know that you're all seeking to harness that energy to your advantage. Now, other than that, the wellness attractions of India, these have been continuously highlighted. In fact, the mainstreaming of Ayush traditional practices, the promotion of the International Day of Yoga, the launch of Mission Life, or even the popularization of millets, these have all contributed to the goal of promoting tourism and hospitality. Those coming to study in India, I want to emphasize, have also increased. And heal in India is today a mantra that is increasingly catching on in the world, indeed in our own country. And we see that reflected in the growing number of medical tourists to India. And of course, because finally I have to plug from my ministry as well, the practice of e-visas has made visiting India so much more pleasant an experience. So you can see the messaging of India to the world is clearly stronger, but it is paralleled by also making traveling in India much easier. This is evident, obviously, to all of us who move around at home very extensively, and perhaps even to those, perhaps I would say even more so to those coming from abroad who are coming after a bit of a gap to India. Just think about it. Our airports alone have doubled in the last decade. The railways have undergone a sea change, both in the reach and in the quality. Highways have again dramatically changed. The growth of the hospitality industry, of course, in this period is something that all of you know much better than I do. But it is also supported today by homestays, by ecotourism, by adventure destinations. And much of the change underway comes from a government willing to embrace fresh ideas and initiatives. And let me give you some examples. Udan, for example, has made air travel within India more affordable and accessible. Prashad has certainly rejuvenated pilgrimages and augmented spirituality. Where the MICE industry is concerned, we are now seriously on the world map. One visible trend is the enthusiasm of the younger generation to travel more extensively so that they get to know their country better. And again, as I said, we as a ministry are inculcating the same degree of curiosity in the younger generation of people of Indian origin abroad. Now, when I contemplate my own experiences, my personal experiences over the last few years, some of this change that I put before you, some of that really stands out in my own mind. Some years ago, we did the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in Indore. This was in 2023. And what was different was actually that holding of that Divas, welcoming so many people to Indore, was actually significantly supported by homestays. The most recent Pravasi Bharatiya Divas that we did was in Bhubaneswar. And it actually allowed me to stay in an ecotourism venue, which is famous for the olive ridley turtles. I had the privilege of taking my fellow G20 ministers to participate in the Ganga Aarti in Kashi. And for that matter, taking the diplomatic corps to the Kaziranga National Park. Let me also share my own pleasant surprise. This was not that long ago. You know, this is the 50th anniversary of the movie Sholay. Okay. So I actually went to the place which was Gabbar Singh's hideout. Okay. And, you know, guess what? I saw a resort there. I saw a resort there because today tourism has grown to a point where people actually try to relive the movies that, you know, that for them are the definitive memories of their youth. So whether it is Bengaluru or Indore, which I spoke about, I've actually gone to, you know, to food streets in these places, sample local delicacies, and seen today actually what a strong draw they have become for domestic and international tourists as well. And in fact, there is no better illustration of the changing trends of tourism in the country than the Statue of Unity in Gujarat. A state, I must tell you, I have the honor to represent in Parliament. The growth of tourism sites and infrastructure in Kevadia in the last few years is really something to behold. Equally noteworthy has been the growing interest and the ability of our people to explore other regions and states. And again, I give you an example. I have twice attended the Kashi Tamil Sangama, and I can testify firsthand today the enthusiasm and bonding that tourism within the country generates. So in that sense, you know, what you do has not just an economic impact and some other aspects which I will talk about, but it actually promotes national integration, it promotes national awareness, it actually promotes a national spirit in this country, and for that I thank you all.